ZoomISO is the most popular application in Zoom webinars and events production ecosystem. ZoomISO is a dedicated Mac OS application that produces isolated audio and video feeds from a Zoom webinar or meeting. It allows AV and broadcast technology professionals to leverage Zoom's low latency, scalable, and familiar interface for their most powerful advanced AV workflows. These clean outputs can be delivered over the most popular video protocols, and ISO includes support for multi-channel audio outputs as well, including through Dante Virtual Soundcard. A Zoom Webinars Plus or Events license is required to activate this tool. In this video, we will talk through the setup and use of ZoomISO. As I said, ZoomISO is a Mac application, and here it is. ISO can join a Zoom meeting, webinar, or events session. Here I'm going to log in with my Zoom account so I can join any meetings that are available to this account. From this interface, we can join meetings in a variety of different ways. We can create one on the fly, launch our personal meeting ID, join a meeting with just a passcode and a code, or join with a join link. We can also use Zoom Events, which we'll do here in just a second. Before we join the session, one very common pothole is meetings or webinars that are not enabled for HD. Really quickly, I want to show you how to enable that in the web portal. Here we go. We've scheduled a webinar, and right here under the web portal settings, we can turn HD on for screen share as well as for our participants. And then over the events portal, we can do the same thing. We can search for it up here in the corner or just head to the meeting and webinar tab. There we go. Let's turn HD on and nice 1080 feeds. Back to joining a session now. We're going to join a webinar hosted from the Events platform. The Events button launches a session finder that shows me all of the events I'm able to join. This can be a long list, so search is super nice here. And then just hit join. Audio and video settings can be confirmed, and now we have joined the backstage of a webinar. Yes, Zoom webinar has a whole backstage. We're in a live webinar where there's other participants. We can see them here in the participants panel. We can see all of our panelists up on the main stage. Let's head there to be with them now. Perfect. Now let's turn our attention to configuring ZoomISO. First, we need to configure our outputs. That is, after all, kind of what we're doing here, kind of the whole goal. For this event, I'd like 4. ZoomISO does support as many participants as my computer and internet bandwidth will allow. It never lets you go above 80% system utilization or 100 megabits a second. 1080 feeds from Zoom are generally 4 to 6 megabits per second each. There are a variety of resolution modes available here depending on your application. Video loss mode dictates the behavior if any of your participants lose video. Black is very common, as is maybe a test card or a logo, something like that. And capture mode. ISO requires either the record or live streaming engine to be running in the meeting. That's how it produces these feeds. Moving down, we can now configure our individual outputs the way we'd like them. You can index them and name them however you'd like, and under mode, we find all the various feeds we can extract from this meeting. Participant video, shared content, whoever the active speaker is, spotlight, gallery position, you see. Let's configure a participant video. Here I can see all of the lists of our participants in our webinar. Let's start with Ed, but we'll quickly go down the list and configure all of these. There we go. Next up, we can set up the output type. ISO supports a ton of video protocols, including NDI, SRT, whatever physical monitors you have set up, and Siphon. And though I don't have it set up in this demo, using a Blackmagic DeckLink card with SDI outputs is supported and incredibly popular. You can configure the resolution for individual feeds here and adjust the audio that is embedded along with the video. You can include all of the meeting audio or isolate the feeds this way. All right, let's configure our 4th output. For this one, I'd like to capture some content sharing. There we go. All 4 have been set up, and now seems like a really good time to save this setup file. Now it's time to enable the output engine. Let's put the webinar and ISO side by side here to see that what happens when we enable the capture engine. When we do, a custom streaming service notification appears in the webinar confirming that everything's working just like it's supposed to. Back to ISO now, we can see the status of all of our video feeds, and there we go. Everything's looking really, really great. 1080 across the board, except for screen share. No one is sharing anything yet. But so far, everything looks great. Let's confirm this with NDI Video Monitor. Here we go. From here, we can see that all 4 of our ZoomISO outputs are up on our network, and we can look at each of them in turn. Our 4th output still isn't seeing anything, so let's get the screen share going in our webinar. There we go, and there we can see a super high resolution of the slide deck that this person is sharing coming through output 4 exactly like what we want. The opportunities with these feeds are truly endless. One common example is working with the open source video switcher OBS. Here I have a scene in OBS and have installed the appropriate plugins to work with NDI feeds. All I have so far is a nice little animated background, but here are all of our outputs ready to use however we'd like. Let's turn them on. There we go, all 4 of our images in an OBS scene. Great. There may be workflows where on-the-fly manipulation of these outputs is needed. The good news is that ISO supports control via Bitfocus Companion with a Stream Deck. Here you can see Companion along with ISO up in the corner and our OBS instance. With just a couple of buttons, I can select Samantha and move her into output 1. There you go. You can see that it immediately changes ZoomISO and the NDI feed switches over seamlessly. Now I can move Ed to output 2. And there we go. Easy control right at my fingertips. Let's put them all back in the right spots and keep going. We've successfully created 4 video outputs over NDI that we can manipulate however we'd like. Let's look now at the audio sides of things back in ISO. The Advanced Audio tab allows you to leverage any of your available audio devices. Let's start here with NDI audio. We see that 6 channels are available to use, and just like the video outputs, we can capture various audio elements from our meeting. The full meeting mix, a specific output, participant audio, active shares, etc. A great place to start is to build our audio outputs to match our AV outputs. Let's do that with these first 4. There we go. That makes a ton of sense. However, one more option with ISO that I think is just so cool is the ability to extract the interpretation audio channels from Zoom. Zoom interpretation is incredibly powerful and allows hosts to include live interpreters for their meeting and provide different audio feeds to their attendees. ISO lets us extract those channels. Here we see that this webinar is offering English, Japanese, and Spanish. Let's extract the Spanish and Japanese channels separately. We now have completely distinct audio feeds that we can use to layer into any of our downstream productions. Maybe we're providing a Spanish-only alternate live stream. Great. Let Zoom do all of the work and you can produce everything you need to produce. And if you're using Dante, you can unlock a full 64 channels of audio outputs. So much flexibility. The last few tabs allow you to view and manage your participants directly in the ISO application. Here I can see all the video cameras and sharing is all on, and I can even spotlight individuals from here as needed. You can also configure Zoom OSC network settings for additional automation and view an error log to triage anything that may come up. So, what do you think? Do we have you dreaming by now? So many different use cases become simple with ZoomISO. Bring in watch parties from around the globe for your next hybrid event. Use Zoom as the transport for high-quality broadcast events. Or build a workflow to capture HD isolated recordings that are perfect for post-production. All possible with Zoom webinars and events.